Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Rebelwatch. I'm your host, Campbell Holmes. Alongside me today is sports reporter Taye Coleman and news anchor Walker Farmer. Sawyer is out this week, and that is okay. We're still going to have a great show, and of course, we are going to start off with our favorite topic, Ole Miss football. We didn't have a show last week. A bunch of us were out for several things, but I'm kind of glad we weren't able to have a show because of the Kentucky game. How did y'all feel about that? Because if I'm being honest, that was embarrassing.
Yeah, complete shocker. Did not see that happening at all. I just don't think the Rebs really ready. A lot of the critics were right when they said we just hadn't really played anyone yet. But we can just think positively now. You know, our defense did play well. It just seemed like our offense didn't quite as click as well against a tougher opponent than they did against all the smaller teams during non-conference play. But South Carolina looked a lot better, especially first half. We might have stepped off the gas a little bit going to the second half. But I think that can be a positive thing for us, and hopefully we can build off of it.
I agree. And I also do think that Jackson Dart did get in his head a little bit in the Kentucky game. I think it was one of those things, like you said, Walker, like we had not played an actual game yet. And I was listening to some other reporters say, this is why we probably shouldn't sign up or agree to all of these games with these, Georgia Southern and Furman. Ole Miss is obviously going to win against those teams. And so when you go to SEC play from those games, it's a little hard. But I would have to agree with you. I think South Carolina was a much better game. I think they finally had their heads on right. I think it was good.
Yeah, that South Carolina game was a lot better. We basically got to a point where we created offense from our defense, right? They go and fumble or they give us the ball back, and we went down and scored. But I was really proud of the defense this week. Last week. They stepped up, and they basically shut them out the entire second half. So the defense stepped up. That front seven is honestly the best in the country, and they really showed that.
I agree. And on Saturday, we are heading to Baton Rouge. Walker will be going to the game. I'm not going to lie. I kind of have a pit in my stomach about this game.
Yeah, I am a little nervous for this game. You just know Death Valley at night. I've heard a lot of kind of college football analysts talk about the game. We really do match up well with LSU, especially their secondary is not the best. They've had some struggles this year, so hopefully Jackson Dart can take advantage of that, can really attack it. But then again, you just don't really know. I am feeling more confident about the game after seeing how we played against South Carolina and how good our defense is this year. Like Taye, like you said, best defensive front in the country, and I agree. The defensive front has been insanely good this year. Teams have not been able to rush on us at all. So if we can play well on defense against LSU and just take advantage of the secondary, we should win. But then again, Death Valley at night, you just really know it can happen.
We got to win this one. I think this one is an absolute must win. I also think this game is going to be won in the trenches, right?
Yep.
LSU, they're coming off a bye. Their whole team is rejuvenated and healthy. So our front seven going up against Will Campbell, top 5 draft pick this year, projected draft pick this year, and some senior interior linemen, our front seven have to create pressure, and I really think this game has to be won in the trenches.
I agree. Well, after the game against South Carolina, Lane Kiffin got to talk to reporters about the game at LSU. Let's take a look at what he said.
Really big week for us, preparation, going to play a really talented, well-coached team in a really challenging place to play, always, especially at night. So I think our guys are excited for the challenge, coming off of last week's road game, and so got a lot of work to do.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with Coach. When I saw it was going to be a 6:30 night game in Death Valley, my heart dropped. It's just one of those places where it's so loud, the atmosphere is insane, the crowd is insane. I do think we're going to get the win, I really do, but I think it's going to be a nail-biter.
Yeah, it really is going to be a nail-biter. Just like you said, that atmosphere, it's the best in the country. Like, you really cannot beat it. The energy will be insane. That's why I'm really excited to go to that game. But I don't know. I'm feeling confident about our team. We just have to play well, but it's going to be close no matter what. I'm just hoping that we can squeak by them at the end and hopefully get a close win.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, this needs to be the return of the deep ball and the explosive offense. We know it hasn't really been there against these really good defensive teams the past 2 weeks, but Trey Harris is questionable. And then on the defensive side of the ball, J.J. Pegues is questionable as well as Prince. So it's gonna be a nail biter for sure, and it's gonna show a lot about this team. And we can't afford another loss. So.
No, we cannot. And we're really excited to watch the game. If you're not going to Baton Rouge, it's at 6:30, and you can watch it on ESPN. We're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we're going to be talking about all the upsets last weekend in college football. We'll be back.
It's that time of the year again, fellas. When the mornings are hot, the afternoons are hotter, and football is on its way back. Now, games is won by the battles fought in August. Everyone that's not revered as an Ole Miss legend has been in your shoes before, trying to survive that Mississippi heat, competing for a spot, and knowing the sacrifice that it takes to make it in this league. You go into this money collection of men from 100 different places, and if you work, you'll emerge from it as one team with one goal and one heartbeat. The SEC awaits you. And if they don't know who you are now, they will soon.
Where are we gonna go?
Someplace warm. A place where the beer flows like wine. Where beautiful women instinctively flock like the salmon of Capistrano. I'm talking about a little place called
Oxford, Mississippi.
To see it is to believe it. You hear about it, but you just have to see the party.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Grove.
The sound and fury are here.
Let's go, let's go, let's go. Did he got a toe down?
Pageantry, the pride, the pomp is unmatched and unrivaled.
This stadium has come unhinged.
This is what college football is all about.
Oh, as he gets walloped.
No coach is having more fun than Lane Kiffin.
This is the place to be in college football right now.
Welcome back to Rebelwatch. We did just get done talking about how embarrassing it was that we lost to Kentucky, but now we're going to be talking about how embarrassing it was for some teams this past weekend. There were a lot of upsets in college football, which honestly I think helped us in our favor. I think it made us look a little better, and the first game I want to talk about is the one and only Alabama-Vanderbilt. That was insane. Yeah. What were y'all thinking the whole entire time?
Yeah, that was one of the biggest upsets probably in college football history. But if you just look back and watch that game, Vandy just straight up beat them.
Yes.
Vandy played more physical than them, but also Vanderbilt got a lot of those breaks that you need when you upset a team. They got a crazy pick six off a deflection. In the fourth quarter, clutch sack against Jalen Milroe, fumbled it. Vanderbilt got the ball right back and scored. So Vanderbilt really just played perfectly like they had to, got the lucky plays, and then Bama just did not look like the same team that beat Georgia last weekend.
Which is funny because, you know, that game was going on kind of around the same time Ole Miss South Carolina was playing. And I would look down at my phone and keep checking the score, and it would still be like, 14-7 Vanderbilt, and it would just keep going up by 7. And me and my dad were talking, and we were like, they're going to come back.
Yeah, exactly.
You always think Alabama, it gets scary at first, but they always come back, and they didn't that time. And I was really proud of Vanderbilt. Being from Tennessee, I'm not obviously a huge Vanderbilt fan, but it was really awesome to see just a small football school turn into that. Yeah. It was awesome.
Yeah, I mean, Southeastern Conference is the best conference in all of college sports for a reason, and you have to prepare with every single team you play with that standard. And I think after they beat Georgia, they kind of took their foot off the gas. And that was amazing to see, you know, a number one team get defeated like that. But it just goes to show how treacherous it is, right? This conference is cutthroat, and you got to be prepared. So.
And it was funny that literally the week prior on College Game Day, Nick Saban was like, the one place you don't need to be intimidated to play in is Vanderbilt. And then there goes his team, which I thought was really funny and ironic. But that was one game that just really stood out to me. Another game that really stood out to me last weekend was Arkansas-Tennessee. I was not expecting to see that coming at all. I don't know why. You know, Tennessee in the past few years, they start off really well, and then they kind of go downhill like they always do. Love the Tennessee Volunteers, but, you know, it gets embarrassing at times. And I think it was just one of those games where, again, Arkansas just outplayed them.
Yeah, it also reminded me a lot of our game versus Kentucky because, like a lot of people have mentioned, Tennessee's offense was just completely shut down. One of the best offenses in the country, just like we were heading to that game. And then they only scored 14 points. And then their defense has been good all year, just couldn't quite get enough stops late in the game, and Arkansas was able to pull away with an insane upset.
And I like how you mentioned that it was a lot like our game with Tennessee a few years back, because the last play of the game, they're third down, and Nico has the ball, and he just runs out of bounds.
Yeah, that was insane.
It was insane. I was watching that live, and me and my dad are saying, what is he doing? And, you know, I know Nico is just a freshman, and, you know, a lot of reporters saying, oh, you know, he'll learn from this. But, I mean, I can't speak much, but I don't think my brain would be like, let's go out of bounds. Yeah. Like, he surely probably just didn't know the game was ended, but at the same time, it was only however many seconds, 12?
Yeah.
I don't know.
And you can't teach experience.
Exactly.
It's very unfortunate, but I'm sure us and all other Ole Miss fans were kind of watching those games and those upsets this week like, okay,
yes,
maybe we're okay because, it showed us that anything can happen, and it kind of made our loss less vocalized because it happened earlier. So
kind of even the playing field. I know there were so many ranked teams ahead of us because we were able to jump from 12 to 9 this past week because of so many upsets. And honestly, we're in a good position right now, ranked 9 with even more room to go up, beating LSU and teams ahead of us. So yeah, crazy weekend in college football. Texas A&M absolutely throttling Missouri, which was amazing to see because I know a lot of Missouri fans were getting cocky after last week. You're like, come on, you're the frauds, not us.
Exactly.
And then even in the Big Ten, Minnesota beating USC and then Washington beating Michigan. I think this year in college football, it's just anyone can beat anyone. There's not really that team like there's been the last few years, like Michigan last year or Georgia the year before, that's just like no one can beat them. I think really like in the college football playoff race this year, anybody could win it.
I agree. And this upcoming weekend is a huge college football weekend. We have Tennessee playing Florida. We have OU Texas. And like the OU Texas game, like we were talking about in the break, I'm really hoping Oklahoma wins that game. One, so it shows, Texas can lose too, because I do agree with you. I do think that there's not one team that is unbeatable. But right now, if there was one, I think it's Texas.
Yeah, the only one that has not lost yet in the SEC. So.
Exactly. And so I'm really hoping they get humbled this weekend. But who knows? What game are y'all looking forward to besides Ole Miss?
Yeah, I know Oregon, Ohio State. It's at the same time as our game, but I'll probably have to look at that on my phone, because that'll be a really interesting matchup because the winner of that game most likely will be in the driver's seat in the Big Ten, and then just another team going down, ranked high, So it'll be a fun weekend to watch in college football.
Yeah, definitely. I'm hoping for some more upsets. I got to go with you here. I'm really hoping OU can pull off the upset, right? Because if they go and they beat Texas and we beat OU, what does that say to these AP voters? So I'm just hoping for more upsets, especially in the SEC.
We just want chaos right now.
I just want full throttle chaos right now.
Exactly.
Ole Miss versus everyone.
Exactly.
Exactly. Well, we're really excited to be watching these games. We're going to take a quick break. When we get back, we're going to be talking about the NFL and MLB.
Going to be a hot one out there for move-in weekend, Ole Miss. Good luck this year, Red.
You did it. You're home. I can't wait for you to discover the true meaning of Hotty Toddy. It's a cheer that connects us all to the red and blue. It's the moment that begins when you step on campus and continues long after you turn your tassel. I can't wait for you to discover your legacy and make the world a better place. Are you ready?
Do you love sports? Then you should know about STEM. Because maximizing nutrition, analyzing peak muscle performance, calculating the perfect shot, and more are all made possible by science, technology, engineering, and math. In fact, there are more careers than ever in sports science. So if you have a passion for sports, then think about getting involved in STEM and improve everyone's game on and off the field. Get inspired at SheCanSTEM.com.
My passion is journalism. Here at the University of Mississippi, we produce a nightly half-hour newscast, broadcasting regionally on cable and globally on the World Wide Web. It's the kind of experience that is preparing me to walk into any news station in the country with the skills and abilities I need to succeed. So it's not just preparing me for the real world, it is the real world.
These are more than just the sounds of a safe place to go after school. These are the sounds of interest being ignited and of mentors making an impact. At Boys and Girls Clubs, we don't do just one thing. We do whatever it takes to meet the needs of every kid who comes through those doors. Because whatever it takes is what it takes to build great futures. Great futures start here.
Welcome back to Rebelwatch. We're now going to talk about the NFL. There are some really powerful teams that have been continuing to show off to fans, including the Vikings and the Chiefs. I mean, they're now 5-0, which is insane. And there's also been some other great teams. Walker, how have you been feeling about this season so far?
I just thought it's been a really interesting season with the way some teams are playing, especially like you mentioned the Vikings, 5-0. I know there's a lot of doubt about the Vikings coming to the season with J.J. McCarthy getting injured preseason, being out for the season. But then Sam Darnold just came out of nowhere and is just getting the job done. Kind of reminds me of the Vikings a few years ago with Kirk Cousins. Everyone was saying they're going to lose, and they ended up being like 11-1 or only losing like 3 games in the regular season. But then they fell apart in the playoffs, so we'll have to see how the Vikings do then. But yeah, really impressed with the Vikings. And then also the Falcons. Kirk Cousins has really been playing well there. I know Kirk Cousins, the quarterback of that Vikings team a few years ago, always been inconsistent throughout his whole career, never really seems to get it done when it matters most, but he's been performing well in some primetime games this season. Last week on Thursday Night Football, got a 36-30 win in overtime against the Buccaneers and threw for over 500 yards, so really impressed with them and just seeing what he can do with the Falcons this year. Maybe making the playoffs. We'll have to see.
Yeah, that Falcons team looks great. Shifting things over to the AFC, I think the Ravens have really been showing that they're in that AFC contention. Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry look like a great duo. They had a thriller with the Bengals this past weekend, and it went into overtime. And they pulled through and they got the win. Lamar Jackson has that one play where he stiff arms the same guy twice, spins out and throws a touchdown. So he's playing electric, and he could possibly be going for a third MVP. So the Ravens looking great. The Chiefs also looking great at 5-0. They're continuing to battle and continuing to fight with their 2 receivers being out for the season. So it's going to be interesting to see how everything ends up folding and going. But the AFC is definitely heating up.
Yeah, and like you mentioned in the AFC, that Ravens-Bengals game, amazing game, but just another unfortunate game for the Bengals. Yeah, it's awesome how well the Ravens are playing, but the Bengals, Joe Burrow, not really playing terrible, but it's just like after the Bengals lost the Super Bowl a few years back, it's kind of thought, okay, they lost, but there could be like a Bengals dynasty coming up, or at least competing in the playoffs every year. And now it's just they've disappointed recently the last few years, and now starting the season at 1-4, the Bengals are going to have to fix something quickly if they're going to really push for the playoffs this season.
Definitely.
I agree. And moving on to teams that have been a little disappointing, Jets head coach, they just fired.
Yeah.
I feel like that obviously says a lot about their coaching staff and how they're trying to move forward out of this. Were y'all expecting that? Was that a surprise?
I was not expecting that
I was not at all.
Complete shocker.
It was a complete shocker.
I think it speaks to kind of more so like an example of when you give a player or players too much authority, right? Robert Saleh and Aaron Rodgers have had kind of an on and off relationship, and it's kind of been shown. But I was definitely caught off guard. I thought if anybody should get fired, it should have been their offensive coordinator, Nathaniel Hackett. But they just went and fired Saleh. So I kind of see it as more so a scapegoat situation. I think the problems with the Jets lie within their offense. I think their defense has been pretty solid. But it's going to be interesting to see how they react and if this can kind of change the tide of their season. I think the owner made this move to kind of stop the ship from sinking because he believes this is one of their best rosters that they have. Mm-hmm. So I just think it's going to be interesting to see if it does anything because I think it was the wrong move to do it, a few games into the season like that.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Yeah, like most times when like teams, even not necessarily NFL or just sports team in general, when they make a change mid-season, it usually doesn't help a lot. Obviously, there's some exceptions, but it'll be interesting to see. But like you said, just being surprised by it. I saw an interview. Someone asked one of the Jets players how he found out. He said he found out from his neighbor. He didn't even find out from the coach. Yeah, he was like, I think he said it was like, yeah, my neighbor Greg told me. So that was funny to see.
That was crazy. And like speaking of that, like that change, like you were saying, is probably going to put like a mental hold on that team because you go from listening to, obviously there's so many coaches in college football, but going to, listening and trusting and hearing this, one head coach and all of a sudden in the middle of the season it's just gone and it's just somebody probably, they're looking for somebody new, but they're also now having to listen to all these assistant coaches. I'm sure it's not going to help them in the middle of the season like that.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. But moving on to MLB, postseason play has begun. What are some teams that y'all have been impressed by?
One team that I've been very impressed with is the New York Mets. They've kind of been going on a miracle run. I saw a clip back in April. They were had a very bad losing record. No one was even at their games. And now, just this past week at their games, that place has been rocking postseason, Citi Field, New York. But yeah, just been really impressed with Francisco Lindor and Pete Alonso. Both have had some clutch home runs in the postseason for them. Francisco Lindor had a grand slam last night to bring them to the NLCS. But we also have some other big games. I know tonight the Kansas City Royals play the New York Yankees. The Yankees are up 2-1 there. And then the Detroit Tigers are playing the Cleveland Guardians. They're up 2-1 also. So if you're a big baseball fan, tune into the MLB playoffs right now pretty soon.
Pretty good stuff going on.
Yeah, a lot of upsets. After this week, there could be 2 6 seeds in the final 4 teams.
Which is crazy.
And then the Dodgers play the Padres tomorrow night, and they could be eliminated. And I know there was so much hype for the Dodgers preseason, signing Shohei Ohtani, arguably one of the best baseball players all time, two-way player. So if the Dodgers got eliminated, and if the Yankees could get eliminated too, there's really no telling who could win
that would be crazy
the World
because
Series.
The one team that has been impressing me this season has been the Yankees. I feel like they just kept going. And like you said, if they're eliminated, I feel like this is going to be a really interesting postseason. Yeah. I'm excited. We're excited to watch those games. We're going to take a quick break. When we get back, we're going to be talking about NBA preseason. We'll be back.
The dynamic freshman is starting to make his impact.
Dagger with the shot clock down to 1.
That 3-ball drops for Jamin Brakefield.
Fagan from the corner with a triple. Burrell for 3, and that's a big response. 3-ball, yes. Miss shooting lights out of the pavilion.
And give him one more.
Wow. Alley-oop.
No, you can't teach that.
Well, that should give Ole Miss a boost.
Creating a legacy takes time, takes dedication, spirit, and a greater vision. That vision starts here at the University of Mississippi. What will you be remembered by? Your character, your contributions, your friendship. Your legacy will define who we are now and who we are becoming for our state, our students, and our future. Ole Miss, build your legacy.
We are rebels. For more than 160 years, we've been accomplishing the impossible, from conducting the world's first lung transplant to helping prove Einstein was right. From preserving the past to saving the future. We are Mississippi's flagship university, a place where passion and learning unite, where friends become family, where small-town charm meets world-class innovation. We are the University of Mississippi. We are Ole Miss.
Welcome back to Rebelwatch. We just talked about the NFL and the MLB, and now we're going to be talking about the NBA. Preseason just started. I'm excited about it. Grizzlies had their first preseason game on Monday. They beat Dallas. I thought that was a great win for them, just to show them, obviously it doesn't count, but it shows them that, they're going to be a good team this year, and that they are going to come back from last year, which was quite embarrassing, and they can do it. I think they can do it, and seeing Ja back on the court was obviously just such a relief, especially for fans like me. It was just awesome to see him back, but I don't know if y'all watched the game on Monday, but he had to go to the locker room for an ankle sprain.
Oh no.
And now he won't play until the home opener, which honestly I'm kind of glad, because it will give him time to rest and get ready. But when you think about it, he only played 8 games last season. With the suspension, he got back, played 8 games, and there all of a sudden he needs shoulder surgery. So he hasn't basically played a lot of games in about 2 years. Yeah. So I'm kind of scared about him being rusty.
Yeah.
I really don't know, but what I do have to say is I am really excited that he's back, and I think he's going to come back better than ever.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Definitely. I mean, even from the preseason game, he had 13, 4, and 3. He had that nice alley-oop to Edie.
Yep.
Like, it was similar, a lot of similarities to the old Ja. Like, I didn't really see any rust. And I know at some point that's gonna occur once you play better teams and better defenses. But for the most part, I think he'll be all right. He got that little mild ankle sprain. They're gonna play it cautious. Let him wait to the home opener, which I think is the right play here. But I think overall he should be all right.
I agree, and I'm really excited for the home opener to start, because Ja will be back. Jaren will most likely be back. Cam Spencer, one of our rookies, most likely be back. GG won't be back for a couple more weeks, but Grizzlies are just prone to injury. It happens every year, but I'm really hoping that they'll come back on October 26th, and it'll be better than ever. But speaking of Edie, I think he looked great out there. I think he fit in just fine. And once him and Ja really perfect that alley-oop, no one's going to be able to stop it. Yeah. I went to the Grizzlies open practice last Sunday, and the public could go in, watch the practice. They played silly little games. And seeing Edie in person was insane. Oh, yeah. He is ginormous. I mean, he's 7'4", obviously. But seeing somebody that tall and that large in person was insane. So I'm really excited to see him play against, big time people. Dallas didn't really have any of their stars playing, like Luka or anybody. So I'm really excited for the actual season to start, so we can see how well he plays against good people like that. Yeah. And another person I was really excited to see back was Brandon Clark. He came back from an Achilles injury. He didn't play all last season, and I think he looked good too. I really do think this team is gonna be a playoff contender. What are y'all thinking?
Yeah, I think so. I think GG coming back is definitely going to be a big boost, kind of towards the mid-season point around that January, December mark. But I think Brandon Clark looked well. I know he had 17 points. He shot like 50% from the field. So I think overall, as long as this Grizzlies team can stay healthy, I think they're going to pretty much be in that running, at least for a play-in spot.
Right.
Yeah, and like you talked about, Zach Edey. Was really impressed with him at Purdue the last 2 seasons, back-to-back National Player of the Year. So if he can translate his game from college to the NBA, I think he could be possibly even a Rookie of the Year. I know we talked about that a few weeks ago. No one picked him, but now looking back, he possibly could be working well with Ja Morant, having a big man like that down low, so tall. He could be a disruptor in the paint for them.
Definitely. I think he could definitely be a dark horse for that Rookie of the Year, just because of how efficient he is off the pick and roll. I know he has some defensive problems that kind of need to get addressed, and being 7'4", it's a lot harder to move quickly and adjust to NBA-style offense, but he's really, really good off that pick and roll and rebounding. So I think that could be something, and I think he could definitely be in that Rookie of the Year race.
I agree. First game for them, the actual season is October 26th. The home opener is October 26th. It's a Saturday night, and they play the Orlando Magic. We're excited for their season to start and wish them the best of luck. And that's all the time we have for Rebel Watch. Again, I'm your host, Campbell Holmes. Alongside me, sports reporter Taye Coleman and news anchor Walker Farmer. Thank you so much for tuning in this week, and check back in with us next week. Good night, everybody.